Hello everybody, and welcome to another video in the IELTS Learning Tips series. Today I want to look at what it is that you need to be able to do in English and IELTS in order to get band 7 and 8. And I hope this will work as a kind of checklist for you so that you can look at these things in each of the different parts and say, yes, I can do that. No, I can't do that. So I need to work on it. So let's jump in and look at the things that I believe you need to be able to do in order to be confident about getting a band 7 or 8 or 7.5 or 8.5 when you go into the exam. Okay, so you need to ask yourself, can I do these things? And you need to be honest with yourself. If there is anything here that you cannot do or you haven't even considered, then it might be worth spending some time on it. And this is not a definitive list. There are other things as well. So these are just some of the main things that I believe you should be able to do if you are determined to get a 7 or 8 in any part of the test. So the move from 6 to 7 is quite big. I've been teaching English language for many, many years, and I know that going through the steps from elementary to intermediate to upper intermediate can be quite straightforward. But then from that sort of upper intermediate into the more advanced is a lot more difficult. I remember when I taught the proficiency exam, which is higher than IELTS, and basically there is no real curriculum because you can be asked anything in English, any vocabulary, any grammar, anything. And that's what being an advanced student is all about. It's whatever's thrown at you, you have to be able to deal with it. And that's what makes that leap from 6 to 7 to 7.5 quite big. And then from 8 to 8.8 or 8.5, because now you need to be like a native speaker. And that is not easy for, it's not easy to do unless you're living in the country, let's face it. So these are big leaps that you're going to need to make. And these leaps will take a lot of time and a lot of effort. And the more effort you put in and the more practice you're able to do, obviously, the less time it will take. So in my experience, a lot of students get stuck at 6.5, and the average score in IELTS across all students that take it, and it's something like around 3 million a year, is 6. So the average score is 6. So if you're at 6.5, you're already above average. If you want 7 or 8, then obviously you're going to have to put in a lot more time and practice. And this is particularly true in writing and speaking, which are the productive skills. Nowadays, when I look at people's scores, I see a lot of people getting very high scores in reading and listening. One of the reasons for this is that they spend more time on these two skills. And if you are doing that, you have to be careful because writing and speaking are more difficult and they require active practice. And if you're not doing that, then the reading and listening will not get you through at the score that you want. So you have to look at all 4 skills. So how can you change this? You need to make sure that you can do all of these things. So in listening, can you pick out small details, individual words, even the S or the ED on the end of a word? It can be that detailed. Can you do that? If not, practice it. Can you listen and make notes at the same time so that if you miss a question, you can come back, look at your notes and work out the answer? Are you aware of the grammar in the questions so that you can avoid mistakes in your answers? So does it have an article, for example? Is it going to be a singular or a plural noun? That will help you with the S on the end of it. Can you listen for markers so that you don't lose your place when you're listening? So you know exactly where you are vis-a-vis the questions. And can you listen, understand, read, and write all at the same time? Because that's what you're required to do. So you need to be able to do all these things very effectively. Let's go on to reading. Have you got a wide range of vocabulary? Are you doing things that will help you to improve your vocabulary, such as reading regularly? Have you got a good awareness of grammar so you can organize your answers well? Grammar is very helpful in reading. It helps to show you whether you need to go back to look at something. It can help you to understand the time scales. So having a good grasp of grammar is helpful in getting the correct answers. Do you know how certain things in English work, like negatives? For example, if you get a negative yes, no, not given, do you know how to work with that? Do you have good skimming and scanning skills? I've said a lot about that already. If you don't, you need to practice. Can you work very fast and pace yourself 1 minute per question? Can you stop yourself spending 2 minutes on a question? If you can't, then that's something you really need to embrace and practice. How is your keyword use? Are you able to take the right keywords and find them and then use that to get the answer? And do you know when you're in the wrong place? That's another skill. You have to know when you're in the wrong place so that you can move to the right place. Writing. Can you analyze the question well? Do you know exactly what it's asking you to do? Can you make an effective plan that's going to help you to write well and manage your time? Do you know what Band 7 feels like? Do you know what kind of sentences are suitable? Do you know what kind of vocabulary? Do you know how to make complex sentences? All of these things are important. And if you don't, then you need to go back and find out. Have you got really good grammar vocabulary? Can you write a whole range of sentence structures? Do you know the difference between formal and academic and formal and informal so that you don't use the wrong language? Can you be flexible? Can you say the same thing in many different ways? Can you manage your cohesion so that every sentence is related to the one before it and the one after it, and your paragraphs link well one to another? This is all part of getting 7 and above in writing. And do you know how to construct complex sentences? Do you have some devices at your fingertips to make complex sentences easily and correctly? And when you finished your writing, do you know how to scan for errors? Do you know what errors to look for, the ones that you make all the time? And can you do this quickly when you've finished? So these are all writing skills that you have to have. And finally, in speaking, can you speak comfortably about anything on earth? One little tip that I give to my students is to put a range of topics in a bowl. And every time you have a minute spare, pick out a random topic and talk about it for 1 minute without stopping. And they have to be very random topics, but it's a really useful way of practicing for part 2. Can you demonstrate flexibility in your language, or do you find that you're repeating the same words all the time? Can you structure your talk very quickly in 1 minute and deliver it fluently and in an interesting way? The more interesting your talk is, the more the examiner's going to be giving you a higher score. And can you use a lot of tenses, verbs, and all kinds of other conditionals, all of these things, to give your talk, but also to answer the question, how are your modal verbs? How are your conditionals? These things are very good in your answers to get you a high score in the speaking. And how well is your listening? Because listening is just as important as speaking when you do the speaking test. You have to listen to the examiner and really understand what they are asking you. Okay, So you need to have these things in English. You would do them automatically in your own language, but you need to be able to apply them just as well in your English. And the better you apply them, the higher your band. It's that simple. It really is. So all of these things that I've mentioned, if you're doubtful about any of them, then that's the thing you need to work on and find out. If you're not sure, find out how to do it. And I'm always happy to talk to people about this. And you may or may not know, but I've started an IELTS club that you can join. It's a very small amount to pay every month, just 17 US dollars. And you can join this club and get training, questions answered. You get a lesson every day. There are lots and lots of things there. So if you want to know more about the club, then let me know and I can give you the information. Okay, so thank you for watching. I will put a little link about the IELTS Champions Club. And if anybody's interested, you can go to that link, find out more about it, and it will tell you what to do if you want to join us. Okay, and I'll see you.